there's moments, you know, there's moments when you're in the car, say, or you're whatever, and you sing something, and you go, I think that sounded really good. Like, the tone, where did that come from? And then, you know, you don't know how to repeat it. You don't know what it was. You're like embarrassed by the fact that, well, dancing's one of them things. Do you dance?
We do ballroom dancing.
That's cool. Oh.
And then if there's a line dancer teacher, we'll jump in. Yeah.
Little country style
but
line
Adam
dancing.
and I have done like waltz, rumba, salsa, like all level 1.
Were you like a Dancing with the Stars person?
No, just for fun, like on our own, little date night. And we had a great instructor, so it was really fun. I want to keep doing it, but we just kind of like, you know, dropped the ball lately. But we'll it's something we know, and so we can always jump back in any time and then progress a little more.
Yeah, you've created the foundation.
Yes.
Well, what I do when music comes on is I walk to the back of the room. I hear the music and I know that that's going to happen. People are going to be dancing any moment now. And I walk to the back of the room, find a corner, find some other blokes to talk to normally, and just kind of turn your back to it and pretend it's not going on and just hope and pray that no one comes up and asks you to dance.
Does your wife dance?
She loves to dance.
Oh, no, you need to go dance with her.
And that's, I know and understand about myself, in the challenging of those things that you're scared of, that is a big move. That's one of the primary moves that I could make to really help myself grow.
Maybe
would be
you
to
should
overcome that fear.
do like a Roomba lesson with her, and then it's like you don't have to wiggle your hips or
what is that?
Have a style, but they like teach you how to like you will lead her around the room.
Oh, instead of the other way around as it normally is in life.
Mm-hmm.
That would be nice for me to lead something in the family at one point. That'd be great.
No, it's really fun. It's actually really like beautiful because you're learning to communicate without talking. And one has to lead. If you both try to lead, then it's not going to work.
It's not going to work.
And you're stepping on each other's toes.
Ah.
So there's like, it's a full challenge in following and leading and
letting go
trusting.
of your own need. Yeah, trusting.
Yeah. Little did they know we were going to be talking about dancing.
Yes. Hello, peoples. Welcome to the Stoked Bloke Show. I'm Barton Lynch. I am the Stoked Bloke. And today, I'm super, super stoked because we're joined by our first ever present guest in the Pipeline Studios. Massive thanks to A New Earth Project for having us here, and a massive thanks to one of the most inspiring ladies in the world, Bethany Hamilton. We love you, mate. Thank you for coming and joining us.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, it's amazing. Your life is a well-documented story at this point in time, right? And it's you've had the movies made and documentaries, and it's all out there. But for those who don't really understand or know, can you just give us a little bit of the background? Were you born in Kauai? Were you where did we start on this journey of life, which has been one of the most incredible journeys that we continue to watch and enjoy?
Yeah, so I was born in Kauai, and I still live there to this day, and I'm so grateful to have been raised there. It's such a beautiful environment to grow up as a child and live as a human, and my parents both were surfers, so that's how they ended up out there. My dad was from New Jersey, my mom was from California, and they were both just pursuing their love for riding waves and being in the ocean, and then they met each other out there and had my brothers and I, and so I had an amazing childhood, not at the playground. Instead, we were at the beach, and I loved it. I feel super blessed. My parents were very much a part of my life, very present, very just dedicated. And I say that because times have changed, and I feel like a lot of parents struggle with being present and being a part of their children's lives. There's a lot pulling them away from their children. And so I look at my childhood and think, wow, my mom gave me so much time. My dad gave me so much time, even though they worked really hard. My dad usually had 2 to 3 jobs growing up. He was probably more away, but he had his moments when he made up for it, So, yeah, I'm just super stoked, and I followed the family footsteps to learn to surf, and I fell in love with it at a young age, and by the time I was 8, I was just a little firecracker out there, probably too aggressive in the lineup and winning all the cakey contests and just having fun with it.
And you were competitive as a young girl, right?
Very competitive. That was the days of no priority, so I was probably always in the priority position.
So in that sense, as a young girl, you were willing to take and do what it took to be in control and do what you had to do to win as a competitor.
I was doing a lot of competing with the boys too.
Yeah.
So we were in that era where you would just enter everything. So you would surf 5 divisions per an event, which I don't know if we should do that nowadays, but yeah, I was ultra competitive, and yeah. It was a funny moment in my documentary, Unstoppable. We interviewed Seabass, who I grew up with, and he was like, she would always beat me out in the paddle battles. And so, yeah, I was pretty aggressive.
You weren't a shrinking violet?
No.
No. And that, I suppose when you reflect on then the experiences of life, was that little girl and the courage that she had, because back in those days, and as a competitor, I feel what you're saying, because I was the same. I had objectives and I was going to go get them and take it, regardless of what it took, Did that young girl and her drive set you up to deal with what life was to throw your way as time went by?
Yeah, I think the 3 things that have taught me the most in life: my faith in God as a Christian, surfing and the ocean, and now fast forward, being in a marriage. These are hands down the 3 most things that have stretched me or challenged me or helped me grow or beautified me or made me cry, They're all such amazing, wonderful things, and they've all taught me so many beautiful and challenging and self-reflecting things that have kind of shaped me who I am. And but specifically growing up, the ocean isn't easy on anyone, and so you're always kind of being humbled and sent back to the beach, and you have to push through those moments of frustration and pain when you're duck diving 30 plus waves trying to get out to the lineup at certain breaks. But then my faith in God instilled a sense of just peace and a knowing that my life isn't fully in my control as much as I want to be in control. And I had a trust that whatever my future held, I knew that my life was more than just surfing. And so when I lost my arm, that overwhelming sense of peace, I can't contribute to anything but God. I don't understand how I was so kind of calm and accepting. And even though my life was flipped upside down and I didn't know what my future held, I still had this just crazy sense of it's going to be okay. And I had a peace that I don't know where else it could have came from. And then as time went on, I feel like just getting back in the ocean and relearning how to surf with one arm, a lot of that intuitive push through the pain, the humbling aspect of the ocean, I loved it because the ocean wasn't easier on me than it was on, say, my best friend at the time, Alana. We're both paddling out, and even though I have one arm, the ocean's still the level playing field. And I liked that. I didn't want to be babied or given an extra hand at life or whatever. The journey began there again in a just totally different way than I had imagined it would go.
It's absolutely, isn't it? And it's at times I find myself complaining about things in life, and then I constantly go, first world problems, mate.
Oh, for
Stop
sure.
it, you whinger. You know what I mean? Do you ever, in your circumstances, do you look at people and go, wow, you don't know how good you've got it? Do you have that opportunity to reflect, given what you've been through, and look at other people and recognise in them that maybe they take stuff for granted they should not?
Well, the thing that blows my mind is people still don't think surfing with one arm is possible. even though they see me doing it, but it's still impossible in their minds. They're like,
Yeah.
no, it's not possible. And I'm like, but wait, remember, I'm doing
Right
it.
here.
I'm out there going. I think our human nature is just so designed. I don't know, something like losing a limb, it just seems like the worst thing in the world. Whereas to me, I think of in life, I'm like, there's a lot worse things that could happen. And yeah, it was really hard, but there's a lot worse things out there, and a lot of people are suffering and going through crazy hard times and under a lot of pain and struggle and hardship. And I'm thankful that my faith taught me to be grateful in all circumstances and to trust that God's got you in the palm of his hand. And then from there, I feel like that's why I always tie in surfing too. And then surfing taught me to endure and push through those pain points and challenge myself when the ocean was relentless. And so, yeah, I'm just grateful for my upbringing, which my parents gave me both those things. They encouraged me in my faith, and they gave me surfing. So they're wonderful, and they're still a huge part of my life, and I'm so grateful for them.
And what about you being in those challenging type of situations and the jet ski coming in to assist you or to give you a hand, and you go, no, I don't need it, I'll be fine? Where does that courage come from? Is that, you know what I mean? Like, we've seen you do that, where you're in those circumstances and you're thinking, just get on the jet ski, get a rider, and you have that stubborn thing inside you where you're so powerful and so strong that you will do it on your own.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I will jump on the jet ski if, that's just the option. But sometimes I'm kind of just like, I'm already there, like a couple more duck dives and we're there. So, but it's also like trusting your jet ski driver too.
Yeah, a little bit of,
And
I don't know
sometimes
if
I'm watching the jet ski drivers, I'm like, whoa, that
I might be
looked
better
wild.
alone.
And I had a recent occurrence, I forget where it was. Oh, someone's like, oh, jump on the jet ski. And literally like a bomb set came, and I was like, no. And we would have got washed out. Like, they weren't really paying attention. So you also have to trust your jet ski driver.
In those moments after the shark attack, and when did you originally go, well, I'll never surf again? Did you have those thoughts at the start of that process, and then how was that?
Yeah, well, I didn't know anyone who surfed with one arm, so it was hard to imagine it. But then I talked to Mike Coots, who's my good friend. We surf together all the time on Kauai. He's my older brother's friend as well, and he had lost his leg to a shark, 5 or more years before myself. Check him out on Instagram. He actually does shark photography and conservation, and he literally just like travels the world and like looks for huge sharks to photograph in the ocean. So anyway,
Challenge his fears.
he learned how to surf with one leg. He was a boogie boarder before, and now he does both. He surfs and boogies. And he's like, hey, I think you can surf with one arm. And so all it took was like a little light bulb of inspiration, and I was like, okay, let's go.
My neighbour at Backyards, Buddy McRae, is one arm.
Oh yeah, I've
boarder,
met him.
Yeah, and Buddy had he always had that handle on the boards. What did you have to do to your equipment? What did you have to tinker and change to be able to create the possibilities of surf?
Yeah, so first it was just starting on the longboard to have the stability, adjusting to standing up with one arm, and thankfully being like smaller and lighter, I think it was more approachable then to kind of figure it out. So I started off on the longboard, but I popped up on my third attempt and rode it all the way to the beach, and I was like, there's no turning back. Like, I'm going to be surfing. I wasn't like, yeah, I'm going to like do all this crazy stuff with surfing, but I was just happy to be in the ocean. Yeah. And then I slowly kind of rode shorter and shorter boards as I was able to adapt to the balance points and just figuring it out. And when you're young too, I know there's some older people that are learning to surf as well, but I think being young, it was definitely more approachable, and I was just very adaptable and determined. So eventually, like some days my dad would take me surfing and I just wouldn't make it out to the lineup, and I would just come in crying because I couldn't duck dive my board properly. So then he came up with a handle, because he saw a handle on a lifeguard board So we put the handle, and that was just a really nice help in learning how to duck dive. Whereas fast forward now, I don't need the handle. It's nice though, because when the surf's pounding and you're being ragdolled under the water, just like keeping my hand grip on the board to prevent the board from hitting the face. Which sometimes I still hit my face with my board duck diving, but for the most part, the handle helps a lot with that.
I want to take us to last year's Backdoor Shootout. And from, as a judge of that event and watching your performances, I'd never seen anything like it. Honestly, it was one of the most incredible surfing displays I've ever seen by all of the ladies. And then we looked at you and went, it's just beyond my ability to comprehend. I don't know if I see that courage in myself, you know what I mean? That ability, that power that you have to rise to new levels. Was that for you an amazing event, an amazing time in pushing yourself?
I got the call up literally the day before because this forecast was like massive. And Moana was like, hey, do you want to surf in this event? And I was like, of course. Like, I've always wanted to get a bomb at Pipe. Preferably a bomb that I pack and come out of.
Yes.
But like a really spitting one. I grew up watching my brother boogie board out here a lot, and I've surfed it a bit. I've like caught a second reefer at one point, like by myself, just sitting out there, like way out there. But it's really hard to want to dedicate yourself to a lineup of 150 plus, like of the gnarliest male surfers in the world that won't give you the respect even if you put the hours in day after day after day, year after year after year. They'll just paddle right around you. I experienced it in my hometown. Even if you put in all the time in the world, the respect will never come. That could change, hopefully. But yeah, so I'm having a family too. I don't want to personally live on Oahu, so. But when I got the call up, I was like, of course. So that was super cool, but I kind of like wasn't super feeling prepared. I feel like I felt every emotion under the sun, excitement, adrenaline, like fear, like crying, just everything. But it was just so cool to be able to share the lineup with 3 other girls and like crazy pipe and just try.
Try, you did, mate. That one you packed, you did a big double up, crazy one, was one of the wildest waves a woman has ever ridden. And it was, it spoke volumes to me. I was just in shock and awe. So hopefully we can get that shot and overlay it from when we did the thing, a Wild Voices for Choices thing. I had that shot and I was like, I'm going to use that again. Let's fast forward. So there's been all of those challenges, but still you remain positive, healthy, focused, and are an inspiration on so many levels. But maybe as a mum, more than anything, you seem to have strong family values. You have a lot of respect for that traditional family unit. You've got a beautiful family. What joy does that bring into your life? Where does that sort of put surfing into things,
Yeah, so when I met Adam, it was kind of shortly after I'd taken a break from doing the World Qualifying Series. And I'm so glad I took a group break because I might have never met him if I was gallivanting the world. And he's a special guy, so I'm super grateful for him. I started working on my documentary Unstoppable, and then like less than a year, like 6 or 9 months into filming, I found out I was pregnant. I was like, oh my gosh, that wasn't quite what we had planned. And we just rolled with it, and then I kept surfing, and I always knew I would just keep surfing. That was one thing I learned from my mom, is she kind of let go of surfing after she had me. Kind of just slowly kind of let go. And so I was like, when I have children, I'm going to give myself the time to make sure I get back in the surf and pushing it. And I had that good result as a wild card in Fiji, and just had a lot of fun traveling, filming Unstoppable and pushing my surfing. And we just ended up bringing Tobias along. My husband was supportive to take this season to focus on surfing, because we know that we'll always be surfing, but the focus and emphasis was specifically for me to surf. And then, I'm so stoked. Now I have three boys, and they're amazing. It's super fun. And my eldest is starting to Like, he's a total surf rat. He loves surfing, and yeah, I love having a family. It's definitely one of the greatest joys in life. Sharing parenthood with my husband and just being along for the ride. It's so humbling, and it's teaching us so much. It's really fun.
Yeah, it's for me, a couple of things about being a parent. The first was that concept of actually and literally loving something more than yourself, which, you love your partner, you love whatever, but, there's that selfishness inside that a child just dissolves completely, and you're in that position where you love that kid or that baby, that child, more than anything, more than yourself, and that's so wonderful
you
feeling.
Finally can understand the concept of, like, I would die for them, which maybe there's not many other people in your life you would die for. Whereas your children, you have this, like, unique love that you might not feel anywhere else. And it's really hard to explain. It's so many people, after you hear them talk about having their first child, they're just mind blown by that emotion and the feeling and the raw love and dedication. And yeah, it's really beautiful. And I think mankind needs that. It teaches you a selflessness that you can't learn anywhere else. We're so self-driven, we're so self-preserving, but all of a sudden there's someone else that is purely reliant on you, and it brings this selflessness out of you that you can't really find anywhere else in that purest state. And so I think mankind really benefits from experiencing that selflessness and that love and that, like, I would die for them.
Yeah, 100%. Particularly as the man side of mankind, there's that primitive warrior kind of type spirit that's just ready to go and protect yourself, protect what it is, but that opportunity as a father to step back and look at what you're protecting and go, no, actually, I'm protecting you. It's just a beautiful thing. So now, in the position you're in, obviously you have been, I'm sure told how inspirational you are, how you inspire people. What inspires you? What is it that drives you and inspires you to be a better Bethany Hamilton?
I've always been kind of a cherry picker, so I just kind of cherry pick off different people for their different strengths and gifts that they have that maybe I don't have, or maybe I have but not quite to their level. And just, I'm not really like the type of person to super idolize anyone in particular. There's no one person that I'm like, oh my gosh, they're like,
I want to be like.
Yeah, I'm more of just like, one person I admire their surfing, but the other person I admire their character. So I don't know, I'm just kind of like the cherry picker. But yeah, I think just being my best for those around me, loving my neighbor, specifically in the family environment, that brings out the truths more than anything else. Yeah. Like in your marriage and parenting, like the truth comes out. And so you're really stretched to self-examine and be like, whoa, where'd that emotion come from? Or why did I react that way? Or
it's 100% my experience too. So
yeah, I think everyone does. It's like brings out the truth. And so I think in the season of life that I'm in now, there's more thought as to like self-examination and like where the beautiful side comes from and where the not so beautiful side comes from, and working through the areas that I think we're all a work in progress. We all are continually like, hopefully we're a work in progress actually, but yeah, and just kind of like there's so much going on in the world. I feel like we really have to fight for just goodness and beauty to shine, and fight for your family, fight for your children, and stand for the truth.
In that fight, you're fighting against what? The pressures of the external world and how it's being manipulated by whoever and whatever for their agendas rather than your own, and you stay strong in yourself for what you believe?
Yeah, to me, I look at it as more of like light and darkness, goodness and sin. So when you look at it, the world from the perspective of like, ultimately, all the bad things that we don't like, that we disapprove of, that bring heartache, that bring hardship, are coming from a darkness, a sin, a wrongdoing. So when you start to examine the world, like, there is goodness and beauty and light to be enjoyed, experienced, and celebrate with. But then there's also this whole other side, and I think we all have that battle. Sometimes we're like, whoa, why did I lie? Or why did I, kind of act out, or whatever it is. I don't know. Can't think of an exact example, but some people struggle even harder. Maybe it's the way they're raised, or their mind's chemically designed is just different. And so, yeah, I think like every day is a fight for the good, and fight, even in just the simple things in your own home. Yeah. When you're really starting to pay attention to all the little things, the reactions, the complaints. For me, it's taught me a lot about being gracious towards other people, because you don't know where they're coming from, or how they're raised, if they even had a mom and dad, or how their mom and dad treated them. It's so hard. And so, and then while my version of darkness might not be as extreme as like someone down the road from me who's really struggling, I still have that, and I'm struggling in my own sense. And so, I'm not perfect, and nor are they. And so just having grace on them, and that they haven't been given the opportunity to shine and fight that darkness in their life. They had never had someone speak into their life to encourage them to, hey, you can overcome this, like you can change your patterns, or whatever it may be. But yeah, just trying not to get so mad at people and the world around me, because we're all struggling in our own way. Yeah. But that being said, you can't like accept some of the struggles and be like okay with it. You have to say no at some point and be like, nope, that's not okay.
Yeah. Do we live in a time that there is an assault against religious beliefs, people's faiths? Do you feel like we live in a time that there's powers at play that try to erode that confidence or that faith that people have?
I think that it's a facade that we're accepting and loving all the different beliefs, but I think it's a facade. So we say that we're welcoming of all the beliefs, but in actuality, we're not. We're accepting of all the different beliefs and races, and we're trying, like, we think this is good, but then the actuality is like, no, you can't believe that because it doesn't line up with this. Yeah. And so I think it's kind of like a facade. And so while it might seem more accepting of a time, I don't think it is. And I think there's a lot too in like the sexual revolution of the 70s, 60s, and 70s that's now normalized so many extremes in our culture, with that has now gone onto social media, and it's so prevalent that everyone's been numbed to a lot of darkness, and it's been super normalized. But in actuality, all this normalization of really dark and dirty and awful things is actually pulling people apart from each other. It's bringing hardship, darkness, pain, and they don't realize why they're in pain because it's been so normalized. And so that's obviously just my perspective. I could totally be wrong. But that's how I see it. I see a lot of our teenagers and young adults super struggling. They hate themselves more than ever. They're super ultra insecure. They are struggling with depression, suicide, self-hate, self-harm, so many things, but they don't know why. And it's becoming so normal that it's extreme. Yeah. But they're not linking as to where it's coming from. And so you have to question at some point, like, the things that have been so normalized. I am beating around the bush a little bit, but because I don't want to be super straightforward and upfront. But yeah, everyone could get creative and figure it out if they really wanted to.
Yeah, and I'm a child of the 60s. I was born in 1963. And I've seen what was considered porn become normal and become normalised through that period of time, the sexual revolution that you were referring to. And it's been, as I've watched that journey, I feel like it's just me being a weird old guy who's just uncomfortable about all of what's going on. But the destabilising effect of the normalisation of certain things on the youth is a big concern, mate. Those, like you said, they're not sure who they are and what they're meant to be.
They've lost their self-preservation because they think that's what they want. And then they go and get what they think they want, and it destroys them. And
in a moment, and then the next moment
they feel empty and alone and dark and used, and they might not be able to pinpoint these points, but they're being degraded and undervalued, undercherished, and just left to the demise of what's been normalized. And so, I mean, it's crazy. So that all stemmed from what was your original question of the acceptance of like different religions. And so I think a lot of it is just a facade, and we're lost in, too, like so many children are on social media hours and hours and hours a day. They're scrolling it on their way to school. They're forgetting to look in each other's eyes and have true interaction. They're in class on their social media, just viewing all this nonsense all day long. And I see with girls in particular, they either get competitive and they are chasing that, what they think is their desire. And then they're on this like what do you call those? Hamster wheel, and they're just getting tired and tired and tired, and then eventually they give up at some point. Maybe not fully, but they give up in one form or another. And they're left to emptiness and sadness and aloneness.
And we don't want you there.
No.
we too, stoked humans, we want to bring joy into people's life, bring positivity and uplifting stuff, and well,
it's crazy because I look back on my teenage years and I'm like, whoa, little did I know I made the best decisions of my life in my teenage years. And for me, that was saying no to a lot of this and preserving myself and trusting that I had value and worth, and that it was worth waiting till I found the right human that I wanted to share my life with.
We talked about the sort of discounting and stealing of the youth's ability to identify themselves. What about mothers at this point in time? It's an interesting point in time where the concept of a traditional family unit, mother and father and children, is, I suppose, discounted. They believe in a way that the mother, I look at it personally, I go, well, if there isn't a male and a female union, the species ends. Right? And there's people looking to science.
No procreation.
There's no procreation, so the species exists. So that respect for the family unit, to me, is an incredibly important thing. It's the foundation of what our humanity is. It comes from that. It starts with that. Science, to me, is not an answer. Just because you can create a child somewhere in a laboratory or whatever doesn't mean that you can discount that the role of a mother in our lives and in our world.
I get pretty opinionated when it comes to just about everything. I don't necessarily share that with everyone. But for example, my husband and I are homeschooling. I wouldn't say I'm full-time mom, but we teamwork everything that we do. So our boys are with us all the time, and they're learning with us and from us, and we're learning with them and from them too. And it's been really fun to just kind of be a family unit and like do everything together. And I could be traveling a lot by myself, but we choose not to. We'd rather make less money and stick together and explore life together. And it's just been really, really fun to kind of explore that. And sometimes I'm like, wow, it could be kind of cool to just stop doing all the things. But I do think there's a sense of purpose. For example, right now I have a teenage mentorship program alongside of the mama. So mama and her daughter come together and mentor in this program, and mom gets a lot, daughter gets a lot, and it's been really cool, and I'm really loving it. And I can do it from home too, so I just jump on the Zoom and say hi to everyone, and then eventually we meet up in person. But yeah, sometimes I'm like, well, it would be kind of cool to just be solely focused on my children, because sometimes I do feel spread thin, and anytime I overreact or feel short with my family, it's usually when I have too much on my plate. And so learning to recognize to slow down and do less, and I've definitely changed how I do a lot of my life over the last few years, and that specifically was from some health things, like nothing major, just like I would wake up at 3 a.m, wide awake, not sleeping, and that would leave me in the morning just like rattled. I couldn't like keep up with everyone. I couldn't keep up with my emotions and my mood. And so that stretched me to like problem solve. And so, yeah, it's just been really interesting. But yeah, my husband is amazing and he's a super dad. So it's pretty cool. Like I feel like our boys, I think children need a lot of time with both their parents. And our boys are extra lucky. They just get a lot of time with both of us.
How's the homeschooling going?
It's going. I think we're figuring it out. I definitely am like, I don't think little boys should be in a classroom setting or behind books for hours on end each day. So we're easing into it. We're always learning. My 4-year-old can smoke me at a rummy game of cards already, so he's doing pretty good.
Yes.
He always has to add up his points at the end too. So we're learning through fun play and just kind of easing into it. But my husband does have a teaching degree, so he's kind of like forerunning it, and it's fun. Like I think they're learning so much, and they have they have a lot going for them. They're really smart little guys. So
well, hanging with you guys, there's no better way to learn, is there, than being engaged in life and your parents' life and seeing how they deal with everything.
Yeah, and since we're kind of on the subject, I look around me and I see a lot of families are pursuing the kind of American life. I don't know how else to word it, but we send our children to school. We're in a hurry as soon as we wake up. We get to school. We do school. We get picked up or sent somewhere after school. But even if the pickup, we're then taking our children to some other extracurricular almost 5 days a week, a lot of children. And they end up getting maybe a couple hours with mom and dad in the evening, if that. Unfortunately, schools can't seem to figure out getting all the schooling done in the 6 to 8 hours, so they send their children home with homework, which is bizarre to me. I'm like, wait, what'd you do in those 6 to 8 hours that they have to go home with more schooling or more learning? It really blows my mind and breaks my heart for all these children. So yeah, it's just a really interesting time. But I feel like we as a people have forgotten to question and ask, wait, is this best for my children? Like, of course our children need to move their bodies and be active, but they also need quality time with their mom and dad, and maybe the weekend's not enough.
Yeah.
And then a lot of times children are acting out because they're not getting that quality time, or because they're being scheduled to a minute 5, 6 days a week, and they're being spread so thin and under so much pressure that they're then struggling.
Yeah.
And we're like, wait, do we put them on a drug because they're struggling and not being supported properly, or they're not being given nutrient-dense food? Like, there's just so many things that are backwards in society. And so it's interesting now being a mom. Of course, I want what's best for my children, and it's not easiest on me. You know, some days I'm like, whoa, what if they were just like gone the last 5 hours? Like, I would have like got a lot of things done. The house would be super clean, though I am teaching my children to help me clean. They are doing the dishes, they're helping me sort laundry, and eventually they'll be doing more and more as they get older. So my boys will be good husbands that help their wives. Or cook dinner for the wives. But yeah, I mean, I hate to sound harsh because I know we're all doing what we can do, and financially, like, finances are harder than ever. But I have some really admirable friends who they've chosen a more simple, humble life so that mom can take care of the children and be fully dedicated and have a lot of quality time with them. And they're not living luxuriously, but their children are getting more than luxury could ever bring.
Yeah. My father passed when I was 11, and that has brought a conscious awareness to me that I need to milk those times with my kids. I'm there all the time. I don't want them I'm in that exact same place, Holly and I are in that exact same place as you guys are, you and Adam, where we're always together. We take the kids everywhere we go. We're always kind of in that sense. And when where he was going to a school for a little while, and I missed him.
Yeah.
I was like, I've got to get him back. Was the day over yet? And so I think that, I think a lot of people, particularly at this point in time, where, dare I say, the curriculum and some of the concepts being taught in the schools, I honestly don't know that I want my child exposed to those ideas at the ages that they are, and there's that concept of protecting your child from some of those influences and ideas and concepts that a young mind may not be prepared to deal with. It's bad enough there's a lot to deal with just growing and living in your own family unit enough to learn.
So what's a really good example of, I think, sheltering. So a lot of people will say, well, are you sheltering your children? And I'm like, well, actually, yes, I am. My 8-year-old does not, or my 7-year-old does not need to go to public school so that he can get shown pornography to his little friend that has a phone way too early. He's too young for that. He doesn't need that in his life. He needs to be in nature, using his hand, using his creative juices, learning and educating with mom and dad, rather than being educated into this gnarliness that children are being exposed to so young. It's so gnarly that, I am sheltering my child from things that they do not need in their life at 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old
maybe
and
never.
Beyond.
Yeah, that's right.
Things they never need, and they're not mature enough to say no or run away yet, or they're not ready. They don't understand, wait, I gotta close my eyes or look away. With that being said, I'm exposing my children to so many cool, rad, good things that are edifying, building them up, leading them to be responsible and beautiful humans as they get older and older. So it's I feel so often it's wait, are they socializing? Are you sheltering too much? I'm these are the stupidest questions that it's can we think more than just that? What do our children need? Do they need a schedule of 8, 9, 10 hours scheduled to a T, and then they go to bed feeling empty and alone, maybe? That might be extreme. I don't know.
So important to be able to understand yourself in that, and who better to determine the outcomes and the situations for your children than the parents themselves. Right?
And it's I feel surfing teaches you a lot about that, because you go out there, and especially when you're up and riding a wave, there's nothing you can do but focus on riding that wave. You can't think of the chaos on land or the problems that you're dealing with. You can think about it a little bit when you're sitting there waiting for a wave, but once you're up and riding, it's the ultimate form of being present and right where you're supposed to be, and focus wholly on that. And so I think of that a lot, and that is being present. And so when I'm with my children, sometimes it's a battle to be present. Your mind can wander, or the phone can beep or buzz, and there's just so much always pulling at us. And so I'm certainly not perfect, but I think just trying to at least be aware of it and set boundaries ourselves as adults, so that eventually when they're going into that phase of life, they'll be oh, I remember my mom and dad looked me in the eye.
Yeah.
and spent a lot of time with me, and that was really cool.
Yeah, that's the most important thing, eh? Nobody knows they've got tomorrow. How do you feel about the state of professional surfing, women's surfing in general? Pretty exciting times in the world of surfing.
Yeah, so we're talking here right at Pipeline, and we just finished the Vans Pipe event. And they sent us out the first round in some pretty wild and woolly diamond in the rough conditions, and I was super pro for that. I was like, you know what, the forecast has been horrible, this is it, this is the time to shine, girls. And I talked to a few of the girls, and they're like, I was so scared, but I did it, and I got past that that initial just overcoming that fear, or putting myself in this heavy lineup, and I made it. And then the next day it's way smaller and mellower, and they're like, I'm invincible now. But yeah, so I think it was just it's been really cool. I think the girls are exploring their potential. They have the surfing skill set, and they maybe have a little bit of the desire, and that desire is growing, and it's just going to be, it's so cool to see the young generation right now, and they're really going for it and ripping. You got the Sierra Kerr, Aaron Brooks, Caitlin Simmers, and I know there's way more. I'm not super paying attention to all the up-and-comers, because I just feel like you have to be on social media to do that, and I try not to be there too much. I think the sky's the limit in their minds, and they're just going to keep getting better and better. And this event turned out pretty cool. It wasn't perfect. It was really rough. I didn't even get a good wave this event. My heat was really wild and woolly, and Carissa got one really nuggy backdoor wave, which was sick.
That was super sick.
That was definitely a 10 or a 30, as they called it in this event, but I think she got a 29.8 or something.
Who was that guy? Who was that tight ass who held out on the .5?
That was a 30. He needs to revoke that score. Come on now.
Come on.
It was one of the best waves ever a female has done in any event ever.
100%. We could ignore surfing completely and just look at you as a person, as a soul. It's inspiring to me and to all of us. And then we see you in the ocean. And the hat just has to come off, and you go, wow, mate, that lady is, you are one of the greatest surfers in history of our sport. And sure, unfortunate circumstances have forced you to become that. You most probably didn't want to become that.
Yeah.
But what you have done with your circumstance is, it makes me tear up, it makes me choke up, and we're so proud of you, eh?
Thanks.
You're a beautiful human.
I always think, I just have fun. I'm still having fun in the ocean. That's my greatest drive, is just to go and have fun. And so I think at the end of the day that's what it's about, and that's what drives me in the ocean in particular, and in life as well.
Yeah.
Just having fun with my children, having fun with my husband, having fun with friends and family, and getting together and enjoying each other and enjoying life. So.
And you don't need to be around this. And when I say this, I mean surfing contests and hype and fame and notoriety and all that stuff to to be in that happy place?
No, I have so much fun. I'm probably more happy when I'm in my home space. But I like this, and I've always had that competitive side. And I really don't think my competitive side thrives as much nowadays. I really, to be honest, I think some of my competition is more self-competitive. I feel like that's never been a strong suit in my older life. I went through the QS years and burnt out big time on that, just the travel grind and the losing grind in Europe. And I remember this one event in France. It was just closeouts. And we were just duck diving the whole heat, and I think that was my first heat, and I lost. Oh, is this really what I want to do? Or this is my official, I've retired from competing in crappy beach breaks. I just competed in Oceanside recently, and it was actually kind of decent Oceanside, but still not good.
Well, we don't need to see you in events. We love the person you are. That's what you bring to us and to all. And I want to thank you for being our guest on the Stoked Bloke Show. We love Bethany Hamilton. I know you guys love Bethany Hamilton. We're all sending you all the joy and love for you and your family, and can't wait to watch what's next and how the rest of your life evolves, because you are a shining bright light in our world, and keep bringing that to the world. We need you.
Thank you. And if I can leave one last thing with your listeners is, you heard more of a raw version of Bethany, and I would just say, if there's something not right in your life, you can problem solve it. And if you feel like something's off, it likely is, but you can problem solve it, and you can work through those, and you can adapt and figure out a way to like make that area of your life better, or make things right, or say no to something that's not serving you or moving your life forward. And I think it's a continual journey. No matter what stage of life we're in, there's always something new that's kind of like wanting to pull at us or steal from us. But you can kind of continually work through those challenges and those problems and find a way to adapt, adjust, say no, let go, and make life that much more meaningful and beautiful and exciting and fun and just like rock it. So
yeah, leave the judgment of the situation out of it and just enjoy the moment, be present, as Bethany had said, and share the stoke and the love with everyone around you. That's what we hope to do here with this show. Bethany Hamilton, you are the very best.
Yoo-hoo,
and we
thanks,
love you.
Barton.
Thank you.